Welcome to Beyond the Riverwalk, the local weekly podcast that brings San Antonio's most remarkable people, places, and events directly to you. All links discussed will be in the show notes, so sit back, relax, and join Kevin and Melissa Barron as they ask the questions that you would. Now, let's get the conversation started.
So welcome, Melanie. Thank you for joining us today on Beyond the Riverwalk.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Melanie.
Melissa's going to be shy now.
No.
We have talked to a lot of great folks in the time we've been doing this podcast, and you are definitely among the upper tier of all of them. But
The upper echelon.
The upper echelon. But at the same time, no discredit to anybody else.
Right.
We've gotten to know you a little better than we probably have had the opportunity to meet everybody else. So thank you, first of all, as not only as representing what you do, but also just as a friend for being here on the show today.
It's my pleasure.
Well, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about what disABILITYsa is, and through our own involvement through Fiesta Especial to try to help spread the word about what that is, and then just kind of, I guess, see where the conversation goes. So can you tell us, I guess, what is disABILITYsa and how did you get involved and that kind of thing?
So disABILITYsa is an organization that basically works to connect individuals with all types of disabilities with the resources in the community and ensure that there are opportunities for people with all types of disabilities to get engaged in the community. So our mission statement is to educate, advance, and engage individuals with disabilities by sharing information, creating opportunities, and strengthening the organizations that serve them. So we have a pretty broad blanket of scope for the work that we do in the community, but it's our ambition to operate as a hub because there are a lot of resources out there and we don't want to duplicate something that somebody else is doing, but the connectivity between what everybody is doing is an area where we help fill the gap.
And how long has disABILITYsa been out there? How long have you been functioning?
disABILITYsa started in 2007 after the first annual Accessibility Fest, which was a resource festival that brought together all four sectors of the disability community: physical, mental, developmental, sensory, and mental health. And we saw the benefit of bringing the community together as a whole and decided to start disABILITYsa to bring that concept through the rest of the year because the Accessibility Fest only happens one day out of every year. And we operated under the umbrellas of a number of different nonprofit organizations in the past 10 years. And then in 2016, we incorporated and got our nonprofit status and became a standalone organization.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, the fundraising that you do goes to support disABILITYsa and the different projects. It's not part of a larger umbrella group.
Right. Ever since, and we operated as a line item under the organizations that supported us in the past. So we've always kind of operated independently, but we didn't have to get our own status until recently when we decided to incorporate and really go for our mission.
Well, and it sounds like it's a pretty broad one, like you said, and there's a lot of folks in a community our size. 1.5 million people, not counting, I guess, all the surrounding areas. So how do you develop programs? How do you know that you're reaching out to meet that mission? And then I guess how does Fiesta Especial fit into that?
Sure. So the original program that we started with was the Accessibility Fest, which is an annual resource festival that brings together the four disability sectors to provide information on resources across the board, but create a family environment where families could participate all together. And that really launched the concept of, one, educating individuals with disabilities about the resources in the community, but also, and maybe sometimes even more importantly, educating the providers about the other resources that are available so that we can more comprehensively serve individuals with disabilities in our community. And then and then the third component of that is to educate the community about disability so that we can begin to break down barriers to inclusion and opportunity for people with all types of disabilities. And then we operated with that for a number of years along with our resource website, and then got involved in the Fiesta Especial programs. And at the time that we came on board with those, it was a 2-day carnival that was held on the campus of River City Christian School, because some students who attended there saw that there was not much opportunity within Fiesta for individuals with disabilities to participate, and they wanted to break down that barrier and make sure people could engage and participate in in our community's biggest celebration of our heritage, culture, and diversity. So we got involved with that, and then slowly and surely that program was kind of handed off to us as the school went on to do other things, and it really fit the mission of disABILITYsa in that it included people with all types of disabilities. And so what you'll find is there's a lot of services in San Antonio that focus on one disability or another, and there's not a whole lot that focus on people with disabilities generally or at large. And what we've found is that not only do we get to commingle and coexist and help build each other up, but we found that there are individuals with some rare disabilities that find that they don't really fit into one sector or another. And our organization has been able to offer a place where they feel at home and comfortable and feel like they belong, because we don't stipulate, right? We're like, if you identify as having a disability, come be with us. And help connect you with opportunities and resources and everything that we have connections with. And just build a community of people who support one another. So there came a time when we needed to either decide to incorporate, or our programs were going to go away. And so that's when we decided to become a standalone nonprofit organization. And so we had the Fiesta Especial programs, which again started as a carnival. As we got involved, we added on the Royal Court program, which is a leadership and life skills development program. And then we added on a 5K and parade as well to help bring about a whole slew of opportunities for people to get involved with the Fiesta celebration. And we had our annual Accessibility Fest, which this year I think we're going on its 13th annual event.
Wow.
And then we looked at the other opportunities that were involved to bring together the disability community. So we added on a program called Conversation 360 that looks at issues that impact people with disabilities and invites both people with and without disabilities to come together in conversation to talk about what this looks like in our community and how can we each make an impact on moving this issue forward. We have a service and leadership program where we work to get people with disabilities involved on boards of directors and in community service and in city commissions and committees and advocacy work. And we are working to strengthen disability service organizations so that they can serve the population better. So we do some training. We offer low-cost printing services. So we do a wide variety of resources in order to help advance and engage people with disabilities in our community.
So you obviously have a staff of dozens, if not hundreds of people, right, that work for disABILITYsa.
And major headquarters.
And they all live in my head.
That's right. Well, that was the point I wanted to try to bring up. And
she's like Wonder Woman.
Bring up and
Wonder
emphasize.
Woman.
Is like, yeah, I mean, you're doing so many things at once, but at the same time, you know, the way I'm sure it seems, at least from our experience with Fiesta Especial, the way you get it done is through volunteers and families and other people in the community that want to be engaged. And the piece I didn't realize is what you just mentioned about advocacy and, you know, the other types of involvement in the community on boards and that kind of thing. That's an aspect I hadn't thought about. And it's got to be, you know, a pretty challenging one because you are doing a whole lot of education to even open those doors in the first place. And
Yes.
that's really amazing.
So we operate on the 4 pillars to educate, advance, engage, and strengthen. And if it fits within those pillars and it matches with our mission, we at least try and get the conversation started. Like you mentioned, we don't have a lot of staff running around. We are a staff of 1. Our goal this year is to add to our team by at least 1 additional staff person. But that takes financial resources, and we are essentially a 2-year-old organization and are just working to build our funding foundation. So always looking for volunteers, which help make the programs run. When we don't have volunteers, we essentially have to cut back on what we're doing and aren't able to have as strong a voice in the community. But we're daily. We're daily at it.
I think daily is as in 7 days a week, it seems.
Yeah. Yes.
7 days a week, 18 hours a day, typically. But yeah.
Well, in terms of the base organization, well, I'll kind of describe, I guess, as the foundational organization, disABILITYsa, because there's programs that are part of it. How are you looking toward the future in terms of developing funding? Are you looking at, working with grant programs? Are you looking at, major events or fundraising events generally? Or what's your approach going to be to build that foundation?
So most of our funding currently comes in through sponsorship dollars for our 2 major programs, the Fiesta Especial programs in the spring and the Accessibility Fest and Ability Strong Parade in the fall. We have opportunities for individuals to become members of disABILITYsa. So we have a membership program. And then our second tier of funding that we hope to build up to be strong is our individual donors. So sponsorships first, individual donors second, and then the foundation resources, they ebb and flow, and a lot of foundations are spending down or they're going for those huge projects and want to make a huge impact. So they're not always a viable resource for funding. One area that we're looking at but haven't quite gotten into is there's funding with the city, and so that might be our next move. But essentially, for organizations today to survive, you have to build a strong individual donor base. So that would be the area that we spend most of our time and energy focusing on.
Okay. Years ago, I remember being part of a board of Habitat for Humanity in Tennessee, where we used to live. And one of the challenges was you saw the direct impact on the people that were involved and the homeowners. But there was a very small group of beneficiaries because you mainly only built, at least in our community, a couple of houses a year. But you needed a lot of donor support. So, you had a very defined population of beneficiaries, but you needed a very large population of donors. Is that something that you see in a way, I guess, in terms of because people don't realize the population within the city that have different types of disabilities, and they don't see it as such an urgent need?
I think sometimes that is the issue, but 1 in every 7 individuals, according to the census data, 1 in every 7 individuals in the San Antonio area identifies with having a disability. So I think oftentimes when we see maybe a grandmother using a walker or somebody who can't quite see very well or hear very well, that we don't often consider, well, that's a person with a disability, right? We always look to the very visible, very more severe types of disabilities when we think of people with disabilities, but it impacts so many different people in so many different ways that sometimes we don't look at certain challenges to life as having a disability. And there are some communities that don't really identify with having a disability either. We find that individuals who are in the military sector don't often think I have a disability, even though they might be missing an arm or a leg or, have a traumatic brain injury. And so really capturing what does it mean to have a disability and what does that look like, because we can see some and there's others that we can't see. I think it does impact how we identify as what's prevalent and what's not. So that's an excellent point. But it impacts all of us. And in I guess national statistics, they say that 1 in every 4 people either has or lives with a person with some type of disability. And while there's people who need more resources than others, everybody working together can help move attitudes and awareness and advancements forward for people who operate in the world a little differently than others do, right?
Yeah. And I think the Fiesta Especial program, to kind of move to that a little more specifically, to me has opened my eyes as one individual to see that there are, I think this year, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there are 16 participants. And like you said, there's a cross-section of participants with various different challenges, including our daughter. And it's amazing to see, how the community has come, at least in our experience, has come around that group, how they have reached out and put smiles on people's faces and educated people and been ambassadors, really, in a way, for the rest of the city to say, look, this is what San Antonio is all about. It's all of us,
And one of the things that I think, unfortunately, with society, when they think about people with disabilities, they think about all of the resources that they need, right? Oh, well, we need to help support them, and they need this, and they need that. And what the Fiesta Especial Court program does is not only is it a leadership development program, right, where we're talking about all of these leadership skills and practicing these things to become leaders and advocates in the community, but we're also out there creating visibility for the leadership and contributions that individuals with disabilities are actually making in our community, because we don't talk about that enough. And I mean, people with disabilities are out there volunteering, they're out there participating on boards, they're out there volunteering and giving donations and working, and they're involved in so many ways. But when we talk about people with disabilities, typically we're talking about what they need. So I love the aspect of that program, because we don't talk about what they need. We talk about what their disability is, right, so that we can create awareness. We talk about how they might need to function differently in society, or how they might need to adapt something one way or another. But in the end, we're talking about that they can bring together a community, that they can advocate for each other, that they're out there helping and volunteering and serving and raising money. This year, the court raised $86,000 for programs and services that benefit other children and adults with disabilities. And they did that by pulling together their communities, right, by demonstrating leadership and building teams and asking for support. And they effectively, did a tremendous job in making an impact on the local community. And then the other part of the Fiesta Especial that I love is that wherever we go, we're wearing our crowns. And it is amazing, right? So we talk about visible disabilities and invisible disabilities, but when we walk into a room wearing crowns, what people see are the crowns on their heads and the sashes on their bodies, and all of a sudden the disability pretty much disappears, right? And royalty is in the room, and it helps to break down that initial hesitation that a lot of people might have by seeing someone that's different. Because what they see is this crown, and they see these royalty, and it breaks down barriers, and it's one of my most favorite aspects of the court, because not only are we creating awareness and creating inclusive environments, but we're also presenting people with an opportunity to relax and get to know people and engage. And I think even for the court members themselves, you can imagine if you have a physical disability or a visible disability and you walk into a room and people are typically looking at you with curiosity and with this, like, what's wrong with you look and staring, that you may not ever get the opportunity to walk into a room and people see you as a whole person, and they're not just looking at your disability. And this gives all of our court members that experience, which I think is sometimes life-changing, because you can see the self-confidence level of our court members just kind of skyrocket throughout the course of the year. And I think a lot of it has to do with how they see themselves being seen in the community.
Well, and one of the questions I wanted to share, and we've seen it, I guess, in our experience with our daughter, but the whole idea of how are people joining? How do they become participants? And then how are they prepared? Because like you said, I know at least in our circumstance, our daughter, once she gets to know people, is bubbly and is out there and all. But in something new, she's a little hesitant. So once someone decides they want to become part of the program, how do you guys help them prepare for that so that when Fiesta rolls around, they can be active parts of it?
So our program is a 7-month-long program, and there's the enrollment period, which starts in May, and that starts with a meeting with me. So the participant and their parents and guardians, if they have them, or even just the participant by themselves, will come in and we'll talk about what to expect out of the program and what it's going to look like. And then we kick off our campaign session with a workshop where we talk about the different aspects of what it takes to campaign and what are some ideas. And then we will work with each of the families or the participants throughout the campaign session. If they have an idea, we help them implement it. We bring everybody into the decision-making process and walk with them through that session. And then we celebrate the accomplishments at the end. And then we take a little bit of a break. And in the spring, we kick it off again with another workshop where we're talking about meeting and greeting and public appearances and interviewing, and go through the course of what it means for this next session of Fiesta. And then our staff is at every official appearance that we make, we're there talking about either some skill sets that we're going to be working on or just there for support. And we engage in conversations, we do meeting and greeting, we serve as greeters, and just not only from the staff support, but then the court members start supporting each other in where one may have a strength, one may not have so much of a strength, and they tend to kind of pair up and help move each other forward and along in the process.
Like our Duchesses.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they get to know each other. They make new friends. We make new friends and fellow parents that can help us and give us advice.
Our Duchesses kind of help each other out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's been great to see.
It becomes a nice little family environment of support and encouragement.
Well, and the events that are coming up now, so we're going to be releasing this episode in the beginning of April. And so it's smack dab in the middle, I guess, of all the Fiesta preparations. So there's several events that I'm aware of that Fiesta Especial members, the court is going to be...
That we're participating
in. And we'll be participating in, including the Alamo Heights night, and I'm not sure what night that is, but that's coming
Friday
up.
night, the 12th, April 12th.
Okay, and then there's the parade, right?
April 20th is the Windcrest Parade. And then we're doing NIOSA in the beginning.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So the Royal Court will be making appearances at a lot of events that are hosted by other organizations, and then Fiesta Especial itself has 2 events during Fiesta. We have our 5K and parade that happens on April 20th, and the 5K is an inclusion 5K, so we have divisions for individuals who use all types of different adaptive aids for mobility, as well as runners and walkers, people who walk. And then right after the 5K, we also have a 1 mile dash that you can participate in if 5K is not your thing. And then it's immediately followed by a parade that has the Fiesta Especial Royal Court up front, and then a number of entries highlighting organizations that serve individuals with disabilities and the companies and organizations that support the disability community. And then on Tuesday, April 23rd, we have the Fiesta Especial Celebration Day down at the Fiesta Carnival. And that is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And admission is free, but advanced registration is required for people to be able to participate, because we got to know who's there. And there's no registrations taken at the gate that day. But we invite people with all types of disabilities to come and participate in Fiesta. We do a number of things at the carnival that help make it more accessible and disability friendly, from bringing in adult changing areas to having RNs on site to having chairs at the rides for people who might not be able to stand in line. We should have some sensory activities. We have volunteers at the rides to help people on and off. And we bring in our own games that are more easily played with various degrees of flexibility. And it's an environment that if somebody is, maybe not having a great day, they don't become a spectacle where they might in some other environments. People just walk by like it's the most natural thing in the world, which it is. And it makes for a really great stress-free environment where families as a whole can come and participate in the Fiesta experience. So the 5K is on April 20th, the celebration day at the carnivals on April 23rd, and we would love to see more community members out supporting these events as participants.
I'm going to have to edit this part. I was looking at Melissa. I thought she was ready to ask something, so I didn't want to butt in.
I thought maybe we got disconnected.
No.
Dead air.
It looked like she was going to say something, and her eyes opened, and I'm like, uh-oh, she's not saying anything.
I lost it. I had something and I lost it.
The 5K doesn't have a registration. It's $35 a person, and $25 for the 1 mile. And the parade is free to come and watch. And again, the Celebration Day event is also free. But the Royal Court is out there, again, creating visibility for the leadership and contributions. And we do have plans to do Alamo Heights Night and Niosa, and we're greeters at the Fiesta Pops concert.
Yes.
And,
I said yes. That's what we signed up for that.
The Pops concert.
The Pops concert, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then our King Corey is going to be a judge for the Chili Queens cook-off, which happens that same Sunday. And there's a few other things that we'll be out and about doing. We're going to be participating in the Flambeau Parade, and then some of our court is going to be in the King William's Parade, and some of the court is going to be in the Pooch Parade. So we will definitely be making a splash on the Fiesta scene this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, our daughter got to go to the carnival day last year through her school, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So I remember seeing some photos and things, but I wasn't able to go. Melissa, did you go?
Yeah, I went.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like it's an amazing event, and it must take a ton of volunteers. How do you get volunteers if people want to participate or to help with anything, whether it's the program overall or for specific events? Is there a way for people can get involved?
Yes. So on our websites, there's the Get Involved tab. And under there, you'll find all of the opportunities for volunteering with disABILITYsa. We do have a website specifically for the Fiesta Especial programs, and that's fiestaespecial.com. And there's also a Get Involved tab, which takes you specifically to the the celebration day and the 5K and parade volunteer opportunities. But also, every road with disABILITYsa, Fiesta Especial, and Accessibility Fest ends in my inbox at some point. So any way you reach out, I'm happy to get people connected with the volunteer sign-ups, because we could definitely not do anything that we do without community support with both volunteerism and donations.
Well, we're going to plan to, when we put the show notes out for this episode, we're going to put all the links out there and the dates and anything else we can find to connect everybody with. And also, we've got some photos from our experience this year with it that we'll put out there on that page as well, so people can get some ideas. But I would definitely encourage people to go out to the website, go out to Fiesta Especial if you want to learn more about that program during Fiesta season. But also because when Fiesta season's over, it starts all over again in May, right?
Yes. So I maybe take one day off and then we start Fiesta over again. And it's pretty funny because you'll find here in maybe about a week or two, people will start asking you if you're ready for Fiesta. And I've been doing Fiesta since September. I don't know what you're talking about, right? Because for the rest of the world, Fiesta's about to start. And for those that are in the Fiesta world, we've been doing it for quite a while now.
Well, it's like Mardi Gras in New Orleans. It's a year-round thing for them.
To prepare.
Yeah.
That's
to prepare,
right.
That it's all done in one day. One of my favorite parts yesterday was watching our daughter strut in the place where her daddy works. She took full command of that visit yesterday afternoon. I was so proud I almost cried.
Well, she was happy to see everybody.
All the way from leaving as soon as we got to 10. Then I was allowed to turn off my navigator because she rode up front in the passenger seat. But once we got to I-10, I had to turn off my navigator because she knew the way from there. And so she took charge from driving there to unloading to getting into the building to where we were supposed to park to finding the elevators and getting us introduced. And yes, she was the leader that day for sure.
Well, we were looking forward to it I was from my perspective. And I think they all did a great job. I was impressed with Corey. I mean, Corey was something the king this year, as well as all the participants. But going to see the different folks that we visited and the responses they had, and I mean, they seemed like they were in their element, just like anybody else would be, regardless of whether they have, like you said, some type of visible disability or not. One thing that popped to mind, we were talking about for May when the program starts all over again, and the people may be hesitant for the reason of having to do a campaign. And I know you guys have helped and you will help again with teaching people how to campaign and what to do and all. But it really, it's not super huge pressure in terms of fundraising. From what I gathered, maybe this is something you can help us emphasize, is that it doesn't matter how much you raise, right?
Right.
You don't have to raise $10,000 to participate. You just have to participate.
Correct. And so we do ask for a minimum fundraising commitment of $250, but at the same time, we have campaign mentors, we have backup supporters, right? So if you get to the end of your campaign and you're not quite there, I have people I call in and say, this campaign needs a little help. So there's no reason why anybody's not going to meet that minimum. And the whole point of the campaign experience is that leadership, responsibility, and the skill sets that come with building a team, identifying your network, asking for support, communicating a clear message. And as long as we're working on those things, that's the important part of the campaign period, right? The money is just a side note, a side benefit, an extra added fun thing. And then, of course, we go through and whatever is raised is used to help create the visibility for what people in our community are doing to help others. And it's all just part of building life skills and leadership skills and getting involved and engaged and bringing other people into the fold and really kind of growing with the concept of it takes a village, right?
Right.
There's nobody out there that's ever doing anything worth doing alone. And this one helps people to know that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to bring people in that have other strengths and that can help us achieve our goals with their different skill sets. And that's really what the campaigning session is all about. In the end, whatever we raise is amazing, and it's not about that final number. It's about the experience that each candidate has during the campaign.
Well, as a parent, and I know Melissa joined me in this one, it's been an amazing experience. I would fully endorse it. I know our daughter would as well. So if you are listening to the show and you are interested, please don't hesitate. Find out more, meet with Melanie, learn a little bit about how the program works and what will be involved and the requirements, the appearance requirements and all those other kind of things. But don't be hesitant for any reason. We hesitated the first year and didn't participate last year. We got involved toward the end of last year for this year, and it's been just a super experience. So I guess just for us and for the little podcast here, Melissa and I just wanted to thank you for being part of the show, but more importantly for doing all the work that you do virtually 24/7 for the community and for families like ours, because you make a big difference in our lives, and you've been a blessing to us.
Well, it is my utmost pleasure, and my joy comes from just seeing. Gosh, when my candidates and my court members smile, the world is happy all around, right?
That's right.
So it's always an amazing experience for myself, and it's my pleasure to take a little bit of what I know how to do in my skill sets and make possibilities happen for others. So I appreciate your acknowledgement, but it's definitely a labor of love that I do daily with pleasure, and those and those people who may not have a person with a disability in their lives, if they want to come out and be a campaign mentor, or they want to come out and help with Celebration Day or the 5K or the campaign kickoff or a workshop. Maybe you have a skill set in leadership and you want to come do a workshop session. We welcome volunteers of all skills, abilities, and interests. So we almost definitely have a place for everyone at the table. So come participate, come volunteer, and together we just create an amazing community.
Well, thank you very much, Melanie, for being part of this. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. This has been Beyond the Riverwalk, and I'm Kevin, and this is
Melissa.
Melissa's often quiet, but we're really together here today and smiling, both of us, throughout this whole discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you, everybody, for being part of this. So if you've got questions or ideas for the show, you can email us at podcast@beyondriverwalk.com or find us on Facebook or on Instagram, and we will make sure that you have all the links to disABILITYsa and Fiesta Especial when the show notes go up. So again, everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you around the Alamo City.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Riverwalk. Send your comments, questions, and suggestions to podcast@beyondriverwalk.com. As always, subscriptions to our show are free and available wherever you find podcasts, as well as on our website. Until next week, join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more conversations about our community.